I said you start the day by deciding. Then you have to create the day. Here is how you do it. And I'll say this very quickly. I wouldn't have time to go into the detail. Number one, how you start your day makes a big difference. I'll share some ideas of what I do and what I recommend. I like to start the day with a breathing exercise. The breathing exercise is very simple. It's simply inhalation, you hold your breath, exhalation. And you can play with this rhythm, but I can promise you, if you try this every day and you just do it for say 2 or 3 minutes every morning, you will see there'll be a sudden change in how you feel. What I do is I start with a number. I might say 10 seconds. So I'm going to breathe in for 10 seconds. Then I'm going to hold my breath and hold the air in my lungs for 10 seconds. Then I'm going to exhale for 10 seconds. So it's quite cyclical. 10, 10, 10. Then I start to play around with it. I say, okay, I'm going to do breathing for 15. Then I'm going to try and hold my breath for say 20 or 25 or 30. Then I'm going to try and exhale for 20 or 30 or 40. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hold in as much oxygen as I can and then exhale very slowly. It gets difficult as you increase the number of seconds. The whole point is that you take about 2 or 3 minutes, and it's quite quickly. You could do this so quickly, and just breathe, because breath is the sign of life. Every morning when you wake up and you breathe, it means that there's life in you. Spirit is still there. The spirit hasn't departed. That means you have life. You should be happy. And what you simply try to do is just allow, the air to go in through your lungs and just breathe. That's what they do in yoga. They allow you to breathe. Just take the time to breathe. Because when we go through the whole day, it's very easy for us to get overwhelmed to the point where we stop our breathing, and our breathing is not as fluid as it should be. So I just say, start in the morning and breathe. Whilst you're still in bed, and you're doing this whilst you're still in bed, set your intentions for the day. Don't wait for the day to unfold. Sit there in bed, lie there in bed and say, okay, this is what my theme for the day will be. I like to give the days names and themes. Some days I might say this is going to be a day of creativity, meaning I'm going to try to be creative today. Some other times I might say this is going to be a day of happiness. I might decide this is going to be a day of gratitude. And that means that every moment of the day I'm going to try and put on what I call the garments, the clothing of gratitude. I'm going to try and find something to be grateful for, both in my thoughts, in my feelings, my actions, and my reactions. So choose the intention for the day. Set that intention. Now, the next thing to do is simply think about something in your life that you're either grateful for or someone in your life that you actually love. You're now trying to bring in the feeling of love and the feeling of gratitude into your thought process. What are you doing here? You're trying not to let your day begin with worry. You're trying to bring in love. Love resonates with your essential being. When you bring in love, you find that actually you find harmony with yourself. Gratitude is in many ways what I call the pathway towards finding your spiritual awakening. If you're grateful for life, what you tend to find is that part of you that you can't see, that is quite beautiful, suddenly awakens, because it means to be grateful means that you're acknowledging that it's not from you, that there's something that is assisting you in making life a little bit more meaningful. Now, once you've done that, the next thing I would say, and you only do this for maybe 2 minutes, the next thing I'd like you to do is just think about your goals, the major goal you have for your life, maybe 2 or 3 major goals, and just imagine yourself looking into the future and see yourself in your mind's eye, living, being, experiencing that dream already fulfilled, not based on what it would look like. Imagine yourself living that life. Now, part of the reason you do this is simply because it'll give you inspiration, it'll give you motivation, and it'll give you some form of focus and drive to get off and go pursue that goal. Now, once you've done that, sit up if you can, and maybe pull out a piece of paper and just, doesn't matter what you do for a living, doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a student or whether you work, make a list of maybe the top 10 things you were going to do every day, or you were going to do for that day. Now, you might say, well, I work in a supermarket and I don't really know what I do. I get instructions from my supervisor. Well, make a list of what you believe will be the right thing for you to do. Now, part of the reason you're doing this is if you make that list and you walk up to your manager and say, listen, I made a list of what I think I should do today. Can you have a look at this and tell me if it's correct and if I'm doing the right thing? what you've demonstrated to the person who you report to is that you're very, very independent in your thinking. You've shown leadership. You've shown your ability to self-manage. Now, they might make some corrections, but they start to look at you differently. They start to see you as someone who is self-sufficient. Suddenly, that interaction between you and your boss starts to change. But on the other hand, if you can do this for yourself, then one of the things you can simply do is simply make a list of the things that you want to do that day, the most important things. Now, I read something some time back about Charles Schwab, who was quite wealthy. He was the guy who worked with Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie back in the 1900s, I think 1905, was the wealthiest man in the world. Andrew Carnegie appointed Charles Schwab as CEO of, back then, his Steel Corporation. Legend has it that a young man walked into Charles Schwab's office and said, listen, I can tell you a simple method through which you can increase your effectiveness and your efficiency in this organization by at least 50%. And to do that, I'll need you to I'll need you to come to an agreement with me that if I share this idea with you, you'll give me a check of a certain amount. And Charles said, well, seems like a good deal. If anything, I can increase my effectiveness by 50%. I'm up for it. The guy said to Charles Schwab, he says, every morning when you come into the office, I want you to sit down. I want you to get a piece of paper and a pen. I want you to make a list of everything you have to do that day. Once you've written everything out, he says, I want you to go through that list and identify the most important thing you have to do every day. He says, put a note on it. Call it number 1. He says, go now, look through the remaining list and identify the second most important thing you have to do that day. Put a note. He says, keep doing that until you get to the end. Effectively, get to number 10. He says, once you finish that, he says, when you come in the next day, what you should do is simply work only on number 1. He says, once you've finished executing and solving number 1 or doing number 1, he says, then you can move to number 2. But you do not move to number 2 or number 3 until you've done number 1. He stood up and he said, after 6 weeks, after 8 weeks, this is my address, mail me the check. And he left. 6 to 8 weeks later on, Charles Schwab sent him a letter saying, when you came to see me, I thought it was very arrogant of you. I'm an executive. I've been working as one of the most important people in business in the United States for so long. And I thought it was quite arrogant of you to come in and tell me that I should sit down every morning and write out what I had to do. He said, but when you left, I said, well, there's nothing to lose. So the next day, he said, I sat down and I did what you asked me to do. I followed your instructions. I did it the second day, I did it the third day. And he says, I have to tell you, and I say this with humility, I have never seen a more effective method of becoming more productive in the workplace. And for that reason, I enclose in this letter your check as requested. All he had to do is write down what he had to do every day. In the same way, sit down and make a list of what you have to do that day. I wouldn't have time to go into the reasons why this is so important. But if you've identified what you have to do that day, once you've done that, you just simply have to go through the day and execute. Once you've done that process, you execute through the whole day, you come to the end of the day. How you end the day is just as important as how you started the day. I'll give you 3 simple solutions or ideas you can take into account. Number 1, take time and review the day. We call it replay the day, run the tapes again. We call that the process of what we call revision, meaning replay the day like a tape, watching a movie, and just look through what you did that day and say, well, how well did I do? Go through your checklist and strike through the items that you've done. If you've achieved certain tasks, reward yourself, celebrate yourself, whether that be through kind words or just through your feeling, or maybe through perhaps giving yourself some form of tangible reward. But review your day. Number 2, find something in your life that you can perhaps share with others. That could be a conversation, that could be maybe dinner with a friend, that could be dinner with your loved ones. Interaction. 80% of our happiness comes from our relationships. We tend to focus on at work and we tend to put in all our energy at work that when we come back, we're exhausted. And we think, I just want to sleep. No. When you come back and you feel I'm exhausted, that's the time for you to interact and engage. Communication, interaction, sharing is one of the most important ways for you to find joy and happiness. Ask other people, how was your day? Now, you may not feel like talking, you may not feel like sharing your day, but it's better to be a better listener and be a better question entertainer or questioner than, say, be passive. So be active, show interest, ask other people how they've experienced the day, find out what people did, find out from your loved ones, let them share their ideas, and you find that as they share with you, you get renewed in your spirit, you get renewed in your mind. Your emotion gets enriched and renewed as well. So I would say, number one, review your day. Number two, connect. Connect emotionally and connect physically if you can, and be present. You see, as part of that listening process, one of the key things you have to realize is that we make the mistake, I still do today, of listening with our ears. When someone is talking to you, as you're listening to me right now, you're listening with your ears. We call that listening. You're just listening. The connection part really comes when you listen with your emotion and with your heart. Anyone can hear, very few people can really listen. Now, you hear with your ears, you really listen with your heart. You listen with your emotion. And that simply means you connect with the person. You're trying to be present as they're sharing their experiences with you. And number three, finally, before you go to sleep, you find a way of slowing the day down. Think about this, a car traveling all day at 70 miles an hour. Nowadays, it used to be that you can drive a car at 100 miles an hour for maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. And when you got to the destination, you just switched it off. When I started learning how to drive, my father used to say, back in the day, because these were quite old cars, if you'd gone for a long journey and you're driven for say 7, 8 hours, when you got to the destination, you would just allow the car to sit idle for a few minutes, just allow what we call the revolutions to come down all the way down. Well, I guess it was because it was an old car. The new cars nowadays, you don't have to do all of that. But I think it's quite an interesting idea, meaning you've been traveling at 100 miles during the day. At the end, you don't just go to sleep. What you do is you create an environment to allow your spirit, to allow your emotions, to allow your physical body to slowly start to prepare itself for the rest. And you do that in various ways. I'm not going to share particularly what to do because I think this should be personal, but you could be watching a comedy so that you can laugh and just relax. You could actually be perhaps just playing some nice, gentle music, maybe putting on some lavender oil. Perhaps it's maybe shutting the blinds. Maybe it's changing and wearing something a little bit more comfortable to prepare yourself for sleep. Perhaps it might be reducing the temperature of the space where you actually go to bed so that it starts to feel a little bit more relaxing. Maybe it's drinking a hot tea. Maybe it's playing some aroma, smelling some aroma, or whatever it might be. I don't know. You have to decide for yourself. But there has to be something that you do that indicates or signals to your inner self that it's time for you to close the day. As you start that process, one of the most important things you should do is go through what we call your gratitude moment. Simply meaning go through the day and just replay what you're grateful for. Emotionalize that. Get emotionally involved. If there's something that happened in the day, look at it like you're talking to yourself and you're saying thank you to self. Look at it like you're talking to maybe the universe, if you believe in the universe and the powers of the universe. If you believe in a deity, if you believe in maybe there's a God, commune with God at that point. There's a reference to a statement that I really like. It says, go into the closet and shut the door. Simply meaning, go inside and shut out all the noise from the day's experience and just commune with yourself and be silent, wherever that might be, on a chair, on the bed, but just sit there and be silent and just allow the whole day to be shut off and just be with self at that point. Some people call that mindfulness, meaning where you allow your physical body, your mental being, or your metaphysical being and your spiritual being to become one. We call that oneness with self, where you quiet everything and you just say, I'm grateful. I got to experience one good day, one extra day. Now think about this. You never get a chance to relive the same day. And every day you get to spend 24 hours. So at the end of the day, What you've just done is you've just gone through a moment in eternity where time has passed and you experience that time, and no one else gets the chance to relive that experience with you, even yourself. It's a great experience just to think and say, wow, I just went through eternity in one day. One part of eternity, I've just experienced that. And so that means you just, in a way, find some way of being grateful, showing that feeling of thankfulness, that attitude of being at one with yourself, and slowly let the day go. And what you find is that you start to change your perception about life. I'll leave something with you that I think is quite important. I said at the start of the day that you should sit down and design the day. I would recommend that you do something else. If you can, as you're about to fall asleep, I want you to visualize what the next day should look like. A peaceful day, a more beautiful day, a day where you've taken the lessons from that particular experience from that day and you've actually done better. So visualize and see yourself in your mind's eye, living a better day, doing well and being happy. If you can do all these steps, what you'll find is that suddenly your life will start to move in the direction of your dreams. Suddenly you'll find actually the happiness and success is not something without that you're trying to pursue. You'll find that you're actually living the life that you once imagined. Henry David Thoreau said, if you would move and advance confidently in the direction of your dreams and endeavor to live the life that you've imagined, you will meet with success, unexpected, in common hours. Now, I hope that this has been useful. I want to say this to you. Life is lived in a day. Your lifetime comprises of the past, the present, and the future. But you have to really get skilled at learning how to live in the now, in the present. And I hope you do.